Warning: this video contains themes of infidelity, suicide, and divorce. If you're sensitive to any of these topics, please click off. Hello and welcome back to Rex of the Rabbit. Today we're going to be talking about Fazbear's Return Remastered. Created by The Wise Offspring, this is a remake that fixes the original Fazbear's Return. But before getting into the game, we have to talk about the original first. The original Fazbear's Return game, created by Scribby, was the first installment of what would later go on to be a series. If you want a more in-depth look into all the games, go watch Oscar Meyer's video on it. But starting the game, we can immediately see that none of these assets are original. This office was taken from the Return to Freddy's 3. We have a panel to our right where there are 4 jammers for Freddy, Bonnie, Chica, and Foxy. There are cameras, but they're pointless. Obviously, we have 4 threats: Freddy, Bonnie, Chica, and Foxy. These models are crap. They're just the Splinks models, but they're cucumbers. They all work the same. Freddy and Bonnie come down the left hall, Chica and Foxy come down the right hall. Just use the jammer on whoever is in the hallway. This is an RNG nightmare. Despite having one mechanism, since the jammers take a while to send the animatronics away, if more than one comes into the hallway at the same time, you're most likely dead. Also, you know how long the nights go on for? 12 minutes. I don't know how anyone on the development team came to the conclusion that this game's nights need to be 12 minutes long. There is also a story in this game, so apparently this we're guarding is called Fazbear's Fright Reborn. Fritz Smith is the janitor of Fazbear's Reborn and goes around killing children. Also, side note, why in so many fan games when they use Fritz Smith, he's just a William Afton replacement most of the time. Anyway, back to the story. On night 5, we play as some dude named Stan, and we arrest Fritz. You have to play basically an hour of boring gameplay just for this. That is, if you don't die or get these Easter eggs, which if you get the Chica one that appears at 6 AM, it will crash the game and erase your progress on whatever night it happens on. Later down the line, there would be an official remaster from Scribby that it just updates the visuals and changes the night length to 6 minutes. Honestly, the updated designs are kinda worse than the original. They are unique models, yes, but they don't have the gray secondary color that the originals had to make them stand out. Also, Freddy looks oddly cute for some reason. I don't know why. Maybe it's his smile. Anyway, this section isn't really to dog on Scribby. This is his first ever game. What he would later went on to produce is great. But anyway, let's go into the remaster. Now there are 2 versions of the remaster. The first version, obviously, and the overhaul. Starting the first version, we get a newspaper telling us about the grand reopening of Fazbear's Fright. We then spawn the office. We can turn to the left and right to see 2 hallways we can light up. In the front of the office, we have a monitor that has 2 tabs: cameras and jammers. There are 4 jammers like the first game, each character having their own jammer. Since I won't be talking about the stories till I talk about both versions, I won't go night by night like I usually do. So in this game, we have the same cast as before: Freddy, Bonnie, Chica, Foxy, but redesigned to look way better. These look great. In fact, let's compare designs. Starting with Freddy, he looks great. Not really much to say about him, but I just really like him. The remaster just defines the original design, and it looks very cool. Bonnie is sort of the same as Freddy. It's just, why is he holding a little guitar? Honestly, I kinda like it. I don't know why. Chica might be the creepiest design in this game because I think she looks really zombie-like and she shows off something cool these guys have. Also Melted Cupcake, I love it. Foxy, again, not much to say, he's a very good model. He does do something cool in the game that makes him creepy, but enough talking about designs. Let's get into the actual gameplay. Starting with Freddy, Bonnie, and Chica, since they work similar to each other with some differences. Bonnie will go to the right hall and Chica to the left, while Freddy will go through either of them. Once they do enter, you must keep up the camera until they come into the office. Also, look at Chica when she enters. This pose truly encapsulates how creepy these guys are. For one, they have these lifeless eyes that stare into you. They don't have any detail on them, which adds to the creepiness. Anyway, just click on the jammer on whoever is there. Chica is very visible. Freddy will be half visible and will also laugh after a second, and Bonnie will only be visible with his ears. Do note that these guys can come at the same time, so it's best to use the jammer on whoever came in first. Now, Foxy has a unique way of working. Once Foxy is in this cam, we must use the jammer on him to send him away, but his jammer is a little busted, so sometimes it will error. We must keep clicking it until it works. I'm pretty sure his jammer does work faster than the others, but the errors make up for it. But if he goes into the hallway, you only have till his next movement opportunity to use the jammer before he kills you. To indicate he's there, he will start growling like an animal. This adds so much tension when you're desperately trying to use the jammer and it keeps erroring and you just hear him. It actually scared me. But anyway, that's kind of it for the main gameplay. It's not horrible or boring, but it could have been better. But after a day when the game released, the Wise Offspring made a post saying he was overhauling the game, and later that day, we got the overhaul. Without further ado, let's dive into it. Alright, so we basically went over everything in the game, besides the story of course, so we're just gonna go over what's new about the mechanics. Starting with Freddy, Bonnie, and Chica, they again work the same with some differences. Chica goes to the left hall, Bonnie to the right hall, Freddy both halls. But there is a twist. The main problem with the original version is that you never need to pull down the monitor. You can just wait for the characters to come in and watch Foxy the whole time. But here, the hallways finally become useful. If Bonnie and Chica come down their respective hall, you must hold the light on them and then go into the monitor to use their jammer. For Freddy, like I said earlier, he goes down both halls and you just need to do the same for him. This adds so much. First off, it gets you off the cameras, which is good, but it also requires you to keep watch of everyone to see when they get into the office. Now you might be saying, can't we just keep checking the left and right hallways? Well, that's where Foxy comes into play. Foxy is almost fully reworked in this version. Instead of waiting for him to go to the right hallway camera and using the jammer, we now need to wait until he leaves the camera into the hallway. You might be guessing, oh, we need to flash him repeatedly in the hallway. Nope, because that will get you killed. Instead, you have to use the jammer that will error like the original, but I don't think as much now. This works perfectly in creating a loop where there's no room for breather. You need to be constantly monitoring the animatronics. I love this. It's really fun and quite challenging. Alright, now that we went over all that, let's go over the story. Starting off, we play as Floyd Devins, and we take the job at Fazbear's Fright Reborn that is owned by Mike Schmidt. Mike is actually also our phone guy. On night 1, he just tells us how Bonnie and Chica work, and he doesn't even know our name yet. On night 2, Mike calls us again and just tells us how Foxy works, and says he'll look into our name. But after night 2, we get a minigame where we play as this orange guy. There's 3 bodies in front of us, and it says hide him. We then grab the first body and take it to the Freddy suit and stuff him into it. On night 3, Mike doesn't explain Freddy, I'm assuming since he doesn't have too complicated of a mechanic. But anyway, he learns our name and then asks us this weird hypothetical question, saying, what if you were working on something really hard and you stay at a place you're working overtime and your wife starts accusing you of cheating? But then he throws a wrench into this and says, what if you actually were cheating? He then ends it there, giving no room for a response, and hangs up. After that, we get another minigame where we have the same task, but instead it says her. On night 4, Mike calls us sounding angry. He talks about the thing from yesterday, but adds on to it, saying, what if your wife was cheating back and filed for divorce? And I'm just gonna stop it right here since he does get into a tiny bit of graphic detail, obviously not, but basically he had an affair and his wife also had an affair. He then talks about going on a date with her to rekindle, hoping to stop the divorce. After this, we get another minigame where we stuff the little female. On night 5, Mike calls us again for the final time, and he seems angry at us, saying we stepped into his family, his still recovering marriage, and it turns out we are the one who had an affair with Mike's wife. He then talks about leaving this earth with them soon, and how we'll stay here and we will forget about his family, himself, and that we worked here. He then talks about how his brother Gerald will talk to us tomorrow before loading a gun and taking his own life. After that, we get a minigame where the orange man is on the phone, holding what appears to be a gun. As he puts the phone down, the music elevates. He then puts the gun to his head, and the music intensifies until we then get a newspaper about how Fazbear's Fright Reborn has been closed indefinitely, and how the owner, Mike Schmidt, was found to have committed suicide. It also states how his wife and kids are missing, and if anyone has any information about their whereabouts, contact the authorities. We then unlock Custom Night, where we can select AI. Obviously, we go to Max Mode. On Max Mode, Gerald Schmidt will call us. He talks about how we shouldn't be here since Mike is all over the news. He just tells us we'll get our paycheck at the end of the night and hangs up. At the end of the night, we get our paycheck and we are done with the game. Now for a story overview, I think it's pretty obvious. Mike's marriage was not going well, and he tried to fix it, but the damage was already done. Desperate to not lose his family, he kills them all and himself, not before telling us, Floyd, that it is our fault. And if it wasn't clear enough, the minigames show Mike doing this. I really like this story. It's very derivative of the original FR story, but it is still a good story. Overall, this is a good short little fan game. But anyway, I'll send you all off. I've been your host Rex of the Rabbit, and I'll see you later. Bye!